All right, guys, we have our first vacant home that I have been trying to get. This is graciously provided to me by the owner, who is one of my clients. So we will go over a couple of things. In this video, we are going to go over how I set up my camera and how I get set up for a shoot. I've had a couple people ask me, hey, how do you do it? Your lines are always so straight, this and that. So I will show you exactly how I do it. First, we have our tripod out here. This is just a quick little Benro tripod. It is, I don't exactly remember the model number on it, but it is great. I love this Benro tripod. And then I have this K&F GD3W, which is their three-way head. It is geared, so you can see it kind of turns. I'll hold it up for you here. As you turn these guys, it's really, really smoothly geared, right? So the gears on it are very, very micro adjustments in there. It's got like a nice grease in there as well, so it's really, really smooth. You can override it by turning these, and it has a three-way head, so it can rotate around, side to side, tilt side to side, and then front and back. So that is how I do that. He's all set up. I'm 6'3", so I kind of like to have my camera be a little shorter than I am, a little higher than waist height, probably chest height. Here's where I'll have it. And of course, there's a car alarm going off outside. Isn't that just lovely? But I like to do that because a lot of the times I see some photographers who have it really up high, and it gives a perspective of you, right? And you, if you're really tall, unfortunately or fortunately, we are not the average person. And so it really gives something that is a little too high and looks a little bit up. So I always like to keep it kind of a little shorter, straight ahead, that way that it gives a good perspective. There are times that I do not do that. One of those, while I grab this, is if I was behind a chair that was really tall and it was gonna be back here, you usually see a lot of the back of this chair, right? You usually see a big side of it. And for me, I like to go in front of it for my real estate photography so that it shows more of the room, because 9 times out of 10, you're not going to be buying the furniture. They're going to be buying the space. And when I see the backs of couches and things, it's a really big block, a really big blob, right? Like this in front of the camera, as opposed to seeing the floor, seeing the room. So I like to kind of push up into it. And this will be the angle that we're going to be working with later, but that is kind of how I do that. So let's get this guy out of here, and then we will get our camera set up and we'll move on. So Nikon Z7, 14 to 30 millimeter f4, already a card in it, already fully charged battery. You guys don't need to know that. Put it on here, set it to user 3, which is my settings. Now it is important to note, I put this on with this little latch, if you get this head, with that latch underneath it, and that is so I can see this level. It is a little weird because if you come from a ball head like I did, usually this screw is in the back, right? Usually it's right back here. On this one, it's in the front, and that is so you can see that level in the back. But it is an Arca plate with an L bracket that I have on my camera. It's a Kirk L bracket. It comes with a really nice Allen wrench that goes onto almost all of the screws that go into this or onto the plate. And then that is obviously, if you don't know what an L bracket is for, it is so you can do this. Easily swap between the two of them without having to rotate something on its side, do whatever. It's really easy to go from vertical to horizontal, which is really, really nice. So we get that guy on here. I always run with my level on this camera on, and I know it's really hard to see on here, but the Nikon level, this is a bone I have to pick with a lot of other manufacturers, at least Sony. They're the one I use predominantly, but I'm kind of in between Nikon because my boss bought a Sony camera one day and decided we were gonna be Sony shooters because she saw a YouTube video and was like, we're gonna be Sony. And I don't have anything against Sony shooters. I personally don't like Sony cameras. I think that every camera maker has its pros and cons. This is just the one that I like the best. The reason I like Nikons is because it is very twitchy, meaning it is very particular about being level, which is how I get everything so straight. Now, when you get straight lines like a straight on, One thing I like to do, a nice little tip, if you're gonna be doing a straight on, like a 1-point perspective like this, and you're like, well, how do I get it? First thing is to look for something like this rug. Now, a rug is not always going to be straight. It can be crooked. This one is actually a little crooked. If we look here, it's a bit wider of a gap here than it is up there. That does mean that it is a little skewed. So what I usually do, flooring tends to be straight, and there is so many lines with the flooring that if you line it up with that, you're gonna be 99% there. So the tip is put one of your legs out in front of the camera and use that to kind of line up with one of these so that leg sticks out straight. And that will get you pretty close. And then I get over the top of it like this, and I kind of look down in this perspective, and I see, is this plane here with the camera even with those lines on the floor? And it takes some practice, but like right about there is. Now, something to keep in mind when you're doing that, this window is off center to the door, meaning that gap over there is larger than that gap over there. So things can get a little wonky if you are really picky about having everything perfectly weighted and centered in your composition. The center of the room is off center to the windows because of building reasons. And so sometimes it doesn't work that way. So you have to remember that. Otherwise you're gonna be off centering yourself and centering the window, but you won't be in the center of the room. And I do fix all of these in Photoshop generally. I try and get them as close as possible, but there are just things you can't do in camera sometimes. It's very, very hard to do it. You could put your grid on if you wanted to, which I don't have set up on this one. But with how fast we have to move in real estate, that is not always the best. So that is my camera setup. It's on there. He's ready to go. I got this out. We're in our user mode 3. We're at 14mm. Everything is ready to go. This camera, to note, if you have a Nikon, you always have to set it to timer whenever you turn it on. It doesn't retain that timer. At least the Z7 doesn't. I'm pretty sure my 8 doesn't either, but anyway. Next thing, we're gonna set the flash up. This is my Godox EX or N or E-nano, whatever they want to call it. There's a bunch of different names for this guy. Just search for X-nano or EX-nano Godox. This is my flash controller. This thing is incredible. There will be a full review on this that I do later for you guys, but I love this thing because it is so much more well built than the actual transmitter that you get with Godox flashes, the big one, like the kind of huge horn you get. That one's really plastic. The switches really feel bad. The dial doesn't feel very good. This has this wonderful little clicky wheel on it. It's a touch screen, so you can go in there. And I have my flash turned off on my brackets in camera, so the camera will not call for a flash to fire whenever I'm shooting in my U3 mode or U2 or U1, but if I switch it to manual, it is still on, and we can go over that in another video, but that has helped me greatly, where I don't have to turn this off, I don't have to turn the flash off on this, I don't have to turn the physical flash off, it just is automatically there. That way I fire off my brackets, switch to flash, fire off the flash, switch back to brackets, fire my next brackets, and just move in one fluid motion. It's USB-C chargeable, and it is awesome. All you do is you click it down, pick your power, select it, and you're done. And it is awesome. So that is my whole entire camera setup, and that is ready to go right now. Now we just have to get the flash, and we're good. This is where probably a lot of people are going to think I'm crazy. I don't like using speed lights. This is my 8400 Pro right here. And you'll see why I have this on him. This is the little protector. I keep it in my bag. I love this thing. I want to get the 600 because I need a little more power for big spaces. But this guy is what I use. I kick this guy out, wrench it down, and then I like to put that handle out of the way so I can hold it just like this and fire it. And you'll see, this is my flash modifier down here. This is what people are gonna think I'm crazy for using, because this is super cumbersome. Now I apologize, the camera's gonna bounce around while I get this on here because I have to push it down. But this is my secret weapon. This has many names, a lantern, an orb. This is the Godox CS50D. This guy is the secret sauce, and I've only recently started using this. You'll notice it does have some wear on it because I have found I've got a new way of doing it. I used to keep it open all the time, and that was a mistake. What I have found is that it is far better to collapse it and put it on the side of my bag here, and it fits in this tripod slot really nice, because setting it down was really messing with a lot of this. And it's really not that bad to replace. I think this is about 50 bucks, 40 bucks. If it lasts a year, great. If I can get a couple more of these sleeves, which I may be able to find some replacements for, I'll be in business. But that's the only thing I've found, is that those do tend to wear a little bit. I do have a little bit of a rip in this one right here, but that's just because I've been testing it. It is on a Bowens mount here, so that fits on my flash, which is over here. I don't know why it's going that way. And we just click it in here. I grab onto one of these guys because it just clicks it in. There's our click, and there it is. And it is cumbersome, it is big. It is just small enough that it fits through doorways, but it is very cumbersome to use. And we're gonna go over in another video the different styles of flash and why I use this and everything, but this is how I shoot. I set this guy on the floor, just like that, set my camera up, which we're gonna do it over here, so we'll just kind of put it over here and end this video. Go over here, we set our camera up, focus it, and then this guy, I go and grab. I don't carry both of them at the same time because it is too much to carry. This does take a lot of time. So I will say, if you are looking for a quick way of doing this, speed lights are probably gonna be your setup, or this with a bell housing is gonna be a lot better. You can set the bell housing down. This does have something you can set it down on. The problem is that it's really top heavy, and so it doesn't work. So I set it down like this. And there we have how I do it. That's how I run everything. Everything I do is like this. Like I said, we're gonna have a video coming up about the flash and how I do it and the different styles. And then we're gonna have a video about how to take this photo and how we edit it and do a whole round trip of it. So stick around for all that. I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know in the comments what you have. Questions, comments, concerns, whatever, we'll go over it. But this is pretty standard setup for what I do. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you on the next one.